Get up. Get up. Get up.
What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the last regular season episode for the 2022 season of the Mets'd podcast, the official podcast of the New York Mets. I think this is episode 139. What a season it's been. A lot of ups and downs, mostly ups though. Mostly ups. And we ended on a good note here with a sweep of the Washington Nationals, who stink, which is good. That was a good way to end the season. I know things didn't necessarily go our way a few days ago, but to end the season with a sweep, the way that the Mets did, I think, was a good sign, especially for a lot of things to come. So you guys know the drill here. We're going to talk about the series. We are not going to preview the playoffs because we are actually recording a special playoff preview episode that's going to come out tomorrow, because this video is going to come out on Thursday. Yep, it's going to come out on Friday for you guys right before the game. Might even come out late Thursday night. Keep an eye out for that. Make sure you're following us on all our social media at Mets'd Up, METSDUP, on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. That way, you'll be able to know when the new episodes drop, as well as make sure you're subscribed to the New York Mets YouTube channel so you don't miss out on the video version of this. And if you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, download, subscribe, drop us a rating, drop us a review. Like I said, playoff preview episode, all things playoffs, will be talked about Friday morning, late Thursday night. Keep an eye out for that. Without further ado, let's bring in James. James, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Good day. I mean, you're bringing me in, but I really want to ask you about what it was like in Citi Field today, because there was a rain delay and the weather was crappy and all the vibes going into this week weren't great. But it seemed like for those few hours, like everybody was jubilant.
I got to say the vibes were really good, surprisingly good. Now, of course, the stadium wasn't packed by any means, but the Mets did a really cool thing where they invited all ticket holders for the game to move their seats down and come down to field level. So field level was completely packed as if it was a sold out game, which was really cool. And, you know, you get a lot of people out there that don't typically get to sit in those seats that now can just walk down there and get a really good spot. So it was definitely packed in the lower, field level of the stadium. But I got to say, everyone was loud. Everyone was cheering. There has been a more growing group, I feel like, recently over the past month that had become a little curmudgeon-y, a little ornery, and we've been hearing some boo birds, which I think was ridiculous for the way that this team's played. A little bit more impatient, I would say, a little more impatient fans that maybe don't know what it's like to be a Met fan for as long as maybe some of us have. I mean, for me and you, it's been 26 years. I know people listening to this, it's been a lot longer. So it felt like the people that were at the Mets game tonight were really happy. We're like, this is an awesome Mets team. They're playing well. They're winning. We don't really care about what happened last weekend. We're here to cheer. It's playoff time now. Like, as much as it sucks, and we could talk about it for hours about what happened past weekend, it felt like everyone kind of just got over it at this point and was like, hey, playing good baseball, going into this Padres series. Like, the vibes were really good. A lot of cheering, a lot of happiness, which was good.
Yeah, and it did also feel like we kind of needed, as a team, as an organization, to just take our anger out on something.
Yes.
And luckily, Washington Nationals were that something, to have just to roll over, like bet their belly a little bit, and then just hit the ball a million miles in the course of a series. But it was comforting to see after the weird rain, cold, sleety doubleheader yesterday and all of the sadness from the weekend, just that there was happiness in the field today. Like Gary and Ron were like talking, they were being happy on the broadcast. Keith called in for the last game of the year. It was very nice. So it was cool that we got through this last game, and now it feels like it was kind of like just enough time for it to turn another page and now get ready for the real stuff.
I also can't recommend enough, if you're a Mets fan, you should be coming to the last game of the season. The Mets do a lot of really cool stuff. All the giveaways for the in-between inning stuff, you weren't there, you wouldn't know this, but you know how it's normally like a $20 gift card or it's like $1,000 off a Ford, like some of those like deals. They're still including those, but they were like, you also win a Jacob deGrom signed hat, a Max Scherzer signed jersey. Someone won a full expenses paid trip to spring training for doing like the Built Tough competition out in center field.
Nice.
So there were some really, really cool things going on in the stadium. And if you didn't know better, you would think that this game mattered just as much as the rest of them, which was kind of nice. It kind of needed that to just feel like we were there watching regular Mets baseball. There was no disappointment in the air whatsoever.
I recall last year, you and I went to the last game of the year. I think we went to like the second to last.
Maybe, I don't know. Honestly,
that night game against that. Remember, because we went with Ernie, we sat down low and we got a bunch of food, and then we ran into Worthy. It just felt like a nice. It was closure.
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I think it was the last Mets. Yeah,
at least the last home game. It did feel well, especially because that was the first year we were doing this show. Like we were getting We were getting a little bit better at it. We knew the team was out of it, but we knew they put a lot of good building blocks in place. Yeah, last year was in Atlanta. John's telling us right now. But we went to that last home game where Conforto cried in the outfield. And it is just this nice, like, comforting feeling. Like, we did this. Like, this is a long time this baseball season lasts. Like, the beginning of April, that opening day when Tom Seaver statue was unveiled, we hung out in the box. It feels like yesterday. But
Dude,
it also feels like a million years ago.
Like, I can remember very, very specific things about all these days and all these games and what's gone on this season and even our experience now working with the New York Mets on this podcast. But like you said, I also go back and I'm like, whoa, like we went to this game at this time. That was this season. That wasn't last year. That wasn't 2 years ago. Like,
yes.
I mean, even the COVID season feels like it's millenniums ago because of how long this past season just felt.
Last year, we didn't even have like full stands until the middle of the year. That was last season.
And that's like completely out of my head. Like it felt like the season started in 2021 for me, memories wise, at that Padres game, which we always bring up, which we're like, that's when we knew baseball in New York was back.
Yes. DeGrom versus Blake Snell, which is a little bit foreshadowing, which is kind of funny. God, this is crazy to think about this. It's just, I mean, also like, this is also just like, I don't even know if the listeners care about this, just for you and I, like so much has happened in the last 6 months, like such an unbelievable amount since March. Like even if you go back a little further, since we went all the way out to the Arizona Fall League, basically just to grab one interview and get as much content as we could, just start the grind during the lockout and see what we can actually like provide and like give, and just seeing it all back. I like made a list of like my favorite games from this year, and there were a couple of them that we were at, but a couple of them we weren't. And just thinking all the way back, each of us moved, like we've done so many things, jobs, people, friends, houses. It's crazy to look back on a full baseball season and think about how much has actually happened. March, April, like, oh my God. The lockout. Do you remember the lockout?
Remember when we didn't have baseball, when we didn't think there was going to be a baseball season played? That was a real thing that almost happened. That was, and honestly, it was a good thing for us because, you know, that Spaces helped us out a little bit, but it's long season. And it's all, the regular season has now come to an end. And obviously we have the postseason coming up, which we're, like I said, episode out tomorrow morning for you guys. We'll be previewing everything there. But of course, we still want to talk about a little bit what happened in this series. There are some things to keep an eye out for. Some guys playing well. The bats woke up, which is nice because obviously when we were in Atlanta, the bats were a little, they were just hitting singles. We weren't getting a little oomph. We weren't getting that extra bang behind the ball. And the Mets were swinging a lot better, which competition as well, but it's important to swing the bat like they did going into the postseason, I think.
Definitely. It was very nice to see Brandon Nimmo and Jeff McNeil set that standard during the doubleheader.
Jeff McNeil also, shout to Jeff McNeil, the squirrel, friend of the podcast, batting title, not only in the National League, the highest average in all of Major League Baseball, first Met to ever do that, second Met to ever win the National League batting title, which is also crazy because Jose Reyes did it, like 10, 11, 12 years ago?
It was right, John will tell us, 2011, yeah.
Right 11, all right, so I was close with 11.
Yeah, I want to shout out Ryan from Cousin Yuri's league. He listened to some of these. That doubleheader from McNeil and Nimmo gave him 65 points in our fantasy matchup, won him the game. Brutal. Bittersweet for sure. The illustrious Cousin Yuri's league, one of the most highly contested dynasty baseball leagues in the whole country.
Doubles, right? A lot of doubles.
A lot of doubles, big doubles league, huge doubles league, doubles and innings pitched. It's just the way baseball was meant to be. But yeah, shout out to him because he rode McNeil and Nimmo in that game to a championship. So I was mad, but I couldn't really be that mad.
Yeah, no, those guys played really well. Obviously, Jeff has been on an absolute tear. I think in the second half, or since his average at one point dipped to 287 at one point this year, and I think since then he's had about 250 plate appearances. I think he's hitting 380 something. I mean, Jeff McNeil has been one of the most, if not the most important players on the offensive side for the Mets this year, quietly, I feel like, because Lindor and Pete get all the love. But without Jeff, I mean, this dude keeps the lineup moving, and a lot of the year he'd been hitting in the bottom of the order, and he just kept the line going. Part of the reason why we were able to score so many runs and get so many wins.
I picked an arbitrary date. Oh, no. I screwed up my sample because I only have one hand. What? Click to allow. What did I just do?
What are you on?
I'm on Fangraphs. I'm trying to get Jeff McNeil's batting average since like August 1st.
Okay, yeah. Well,
it looks tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be incredible because Jeff just, I mean, he won the batting title. Shout out to Freddie Freeman for only going 3 for 4 today. And apparently the ball that he didn't get a hit on was hit to the warning track. He was really trying. Did you also?
I think I pulled like exactly what you were saying. It's since July 30th, 259 at-bats. Jeff McNeil has a 378 batting average, 528 slug, 425 on base, 174 WRC+, 6.2% walk rate, 6.9% strikeout rate.
I don't know if you caught this on Twitter. Dave Roberts a little calling out the Mets and Jeff McNeil a little bit too
for not playing.
And he was like, Ted Williams played when he was technically hitting 400 and would have ended the season. He played in a doubleheader. I mean, relax, Dave Roberts. The Mets,
Dave
there's
Roberts
bigger things.
Jeff McNeil's played in 30 straight games. He needed a day.
Yeah, he needed a day. He was tired. Got to get Guillorme some work. We got to get Mark Vientos in at third base. I mean, there was a lot of guys that need some time. Terrence Gordon needed to play center field, Naquin and right.
Terrence Gordon getting that base hit gave me life.
Eric Fetty, that was after, I believe, the big James McCann home run. And then he gave up the hit to Terrence Gordon. Eric Fetty just looked like, what is
like, get me out of here.
Why am I still here? Why am I still pitching? What's wrong? I can't believe this just happened. I mean, I know he beat us recently, so it doesn't sound as good, but man, oh man, watching that guy pitch, he's a real stinker.
John's getting us with stats right now. Jeff McNeil's only struck out 6 times in his last 150 plate appearances and has not struck out in 50 consecutive plate appearances.
It's so good. Tony Gwynn, what's up?
Fetty had no whiffs on 28 swings.
That's all you need to know.
Oh, my goodness gracious. We also have to shout out Francisco Alvarez. He hit his first career home run, career hit on Tuesday night, followed up with a double as well.
Bomba.
In that game,
absolute nuke.
Just both of them were smashed. So far smashed. One was 107.8 miles an hour. One was over 108 miles an hour. 19th Met this season have 2 batted balls in one game over 107 miles an hour. This was only the 5th game of his career he was active for.
19th or 9th?
19th. John said 9th before. He hit me with the 19th in the chat.
Okay, big, important, because I remember hearing 9th somewhere. Yeah, Francisco Alvarez. This will be as much as I talk about the postseason. He should be on the roster. The dude swings the bat so well. Yeah. He swings the bat so well. Even in game 3 today, again, it's against Eric Fetty and such, whatever, but he worked 2 good walks too. I've been really impressed with, I know the Atlanta series, he was maybe a little over aggressive, and that's what's going to happen when you put a 20-year-old in the most important series of a season for a guy who's also just a free swinging, I'm overly excited to begin with anyway.
But also, it wasn't, now we're talking back about the Atlanta series. We didn't really break any of those games down because we were just so beleaguered by the time we got to the studio. But he, at least most of the time, there were a few, but I remember specifically the Kenley at bat on Friday night that a lot of people did take issue with. Those were all pitches in the strike zone. Those are all pitches that if you don't swing at them, they're going to be a called strike. So, just get your cuts in. And that's what he did. Sure, he didn't catch up to them because Kenley Jansen is one of the best relief pitchers of our generation. Knows how to get a 20-year-old out. But I wouldn't. There was nothing. Everything that Francisco Alvarez has done his first week in the major leagues has given me more confidence in him moving forward. 100%. It seems like he knows how to shrink the zone. You can kind of tell when you're watching a hitter what parts of the strike zone that seems like they own.
He's looking for what he's dialed in on, and that's something that we've talked about in past episodes, like last year, where we're this was a last year thing, but the Mets didn't make mistakes. Pitchers pay for their mistakes. Francisco Alvarez has his spot. You throw it there, he is not missing it.
And again, this is probably another function of him being 20 years old and having only a few hundred at bats above a ball. But that's the difference between Kyle Wright and Max Fried and Kenley Jansen and Eric Fetty and Paolo Espino.
Yes, for sure.
And what we're going to see next series is going to be closer to the former, of course. But now we have confidence.
Yes, now we have confidence.
Some juice. He's feeling it.
He had another, good game again today in game 3. Scored a couple runs, which is great. Catch him behind the plate. We'll see how it goes for Francisco, but definitely looks ready. It was nice to see Canna as well start to swing the bat a little bit after he struggled. Turned on one. I don't remember the last time Canna turned on a ball like that for some power. He's a gap man, I feel like normally, but he turned on a ball, hit a nice home run. Big hit Jim with the home runs.
Big hit Jim at first base.
Yeah, big hit Jim at first base. He was 3 for 4 tonight. I know John's been foreshadowing that a big hit's coming for James McCann in the playoffs. I'm all in on it. Let's see it. I'm happy for it.
It is, though, also, I think, the biggest one. We started with him, but Brandon Nimmo being the table setter with power at the top of the order, we just know, not seeing Starling Marte in this lineup, that you need a little bit more pop from everybody to kind of carry that load. And just seeing him really get around the ball, hit a ton of extra base hits, have RBIs, two out hits. He has within his range of outcomes to be the best player on this team on any given day.
Oh, 100%.
That's the truth. So, and the playoffs are kind of, and we've seen this before, about basically some guy, you got to steal games.
Yep.
And if one guy can get hot enough to steal you a game or two, and it looks like there's a couple guys in the lineup who have that propensity, that really changes what you can do and how far you can go. And I think that is a possibility for Brandon Nimmo, just seeing the way he torched the Nationals this week. And he was, not that he was lost in the Braves series, but he wasn't just hitting it hard, but he was on it. He wasn't swinging and missing. he was just making poor contact. And you can kind of see it after that home run during the doubleheader, the first one, that he like looked back at the dugout. He was like, oh, I found it.
I'm
Like,
back.
The stroke
baby.
is
I'm
back.
back. Yeah. I mean, Brandon Nimmo, low-key, again, quietly, he's got to be one of the most underappreciated players in baseball. I really believe that because his defense is phenomenal. And offensively, he has been incredible. He's been really, really good. He's finished his year with 16 homers, 274 average, 367 on base, 433 slugging, 4 and 800 OPS. That's usually the number that you go to. And in a year where the OPSs are down, it's even better. I mean, like, just looking at his numbers in general since he really got called up, 2017, since then till 2022, we're looking at a guy who has an 833 OPS plus 132. I mean, he's just one of the best leadoff hitters in the league. And now with that elite defense, so incredibly valuable for this Mets roster.
Here's a little fun, like, guessing question for now the season's over. I like one of the best parts about Major League Baseball season ending, apart from like the crippling loneliness of not looking at box scores every day, is like being able to see end of season stats and like take in a full season of statistics. Like another
This
new,
is
like,
them. Yeah.
That's like another new notch in the Baseball Reference, another new notch in the Fangraphs page. Where do you think Brandon Nimmo ranks this year in terms of FWAR, every hitter in baseball?
Ooh, I'm going to go top 25.
You are correct, but do you have anything more specific?
23.
20.
Ooh, okay. Top 20.
In between, you always in between.
Give me the names.
In between Austin Riley and Julio Rodriguez.
And those guys are MVP
Superstars.
candidates. MVP. Julio Rodriguez, I mean, he's a beast. He's awesome. We love him. What's up, Julio, if you're listening? I doubt
Julio.
it, but
Shout out
big
Julio.
guys.
New girlfriend. Very nice. Looked like they're celebrating. Woman on the Sounders team.
Nice. Good for Julio.
Tara for pointing that one out before it was announced.
He's a beast. He's sick. He's one of the most valuable players on that team. And you talk about Austin Riley, who has a legit chance, or should be in the conversation more than he really is for MVP in the National League. I mean, Brandon Nimmo doesn't get put in those conversations. He deserves to. He's great. He's so good.
No, he is incredible. I mean, also, like, this was everyone always says the same thing about Nimmo. Like, just need him to stay healthy for a year. He just finished the season, played 151 games.
Yep.
And he was 35% better than league average with
5-win player.
It was an unbelievable season. He's one of the premier players in baseball. And I don't want to think too far ahead, but he's probably going to get a sack of money dropped in his doorstep.
Yeah, I believe they say secure the bag, I believe is what Brandon Nimmo will be doing. Also good to see Lindor get a home run as well. I mean, like everyone, it just felt like you said, weight was kind of lifted off the shoulders, especially with the rain out. I think the rain out allowed, John said this earlier, I'm going to steal it from him, to kind of flush away all the bad vibes, rained him out, get out of there. You had a day off, kind of just to be with your thoughts a little bit. No baseball. It's a doubleheader. So much baseball you just play. And the Mets, it seems like it's exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, I mean, they got cold with just enough time to get out again. That was the beauty of it. Only was 3 games.
I mean, I said it.
I kind of felt that way on Monday too. It's such bad weather too. Just flushed it out.
Yeah, I said Paolo Espino, Eric Fetty, all these guys stink, and the Mets showed it. I mean, they smacked them around.
Yeah, one other thing I wanted to break down baseball wise before we wrap up the Esti-Met and just move out of the show was kind of a little bit of a changing of the guard seams between Taijuan Walker and Carlos Carrasco as we head towards the playoffs. These guys each pitched one leg of the doubleheader on Tuesday and had pretty different outcomes. Carrasco, like same as the whole last month, he just couldn't really put hitters away. His velocity was down again. His spin was down to start too. Wasn't getting many swings and misses. He couldn't locate the changeup. The fastball was in the middle of the zone far too often. There was kind of a tense moment in the middle of this game where you're like, oh, I really hope Carlos Carrasco doesn't, give up like a bunch of home runs here. And then you saw in the nightcap that Taijuan Walker he whiffed the entire world, 14 whiffs on 44 swings. It's 32%, one of the high marks for the whole night. And you kind of saw him transition into a little bit of what I at least hope his role will be in the playoffs, where he was stopped at 80 pitches. A little bit of that was game flow. And he also didn't hit the best velocity of the season. He was down, but it was also the weather had something to do with that. But he threw more splitters than any other pitch in this game. His primary pitch threw it 33% of the time, 27 out of 81 pitches. He got 9 whiffs on 22 swings, and the pitch was darting left and right. I really think that seeing like a Taijuan Walker weapon rather than traditional starter in this postseason roster as a 50 to 80 pitch type of guy, give me 3 to 4 innings, get around the order 2 times, and really just power down that 4-seam fastball four-seam fastball splitter, drop a couple of the breaking balls in there, maybe a 2-seamer if you really, really need to get a called strike. I think that what we've seen over him for the last month, just the way his K rate has trickled up, the way his RIF rate has trickled up, the way his repertoire has changed, I've told you guys a lot about recently. I think that this is someone who could be very important to us. Maybe because guys know how these playoff series go. Like if a pitcher's not pitching well early in the game, you kind of have to yank him out and move on. And you need one of these guys who can give you length and keep you in the game, let you hang around enough to make something happen. Taijuan suddenly looks like that guy, and he's someone I would have confidence in that role.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, Taijuan pitching like he has is definitely super important to this team. Can't have too much pitching depth, especially with Trevor Williams, who just pitched how many innings today? Did he finish the game? No, he threw 6.
Yeah.
Threw 6 innings, and I think he threw 79 pitches. So you got to assume he's not going to have maybe any more pitches left in him for maybe this upcoming weekend. We don't know what the plan is. We don't know how. He's probably got a rubber arm if I had to guess, but having that ability to be a long guy would be huge.
Because it seems like the way they use Trevor Williams today, I would give us an indication he's not going to be on the wildcard roster. Like I had to guess. The guys who pitched the most today, the Mariners did that pretty skillfully. We're talking about the playoffs, talk about this more tomorrow, but they did that skillfully with Marco Gonzalez. Basically said, we're going to have Marco pitch as much as we can because he's not going to be in the wildcard roster, but he's going to get us to that game so everyone else is as ready as they could possibly be. It seems like Trevor Williams did fill that out. Talk about that tomorrow, but yeah, keep it moving.
And they pitched Luis Torrens too, and he got the win against the Tigers.
I can't believe that was allowed. Again, in these fantasy games, things are tight this time of year. And I had Seawald. I was dying for strikeouts, saves, Ks. And I'm like, all right, nice tie game. That's an easy way to cheap out a win with a relief pitcher in fantasy, especially with the extra inning rule.
Seawald K's
Luis Torrens on the mound. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, Seawald K's hurt you double.
Dude, he struck out like 8% of batters over his last 6 appearances.
Hey, listen,
he completely fell apart. You maligned him.
Rat. He's a rat. God. Yeah, ever since I went back to hating him, things have been great the opposite for him, I guess. He's been exactly what I wanted him to be. I have 2 more things I wanted to mention that are a little bit rare. Or 3, actually. 3.
Ooh, 3.
1, funny story about being at the game tonight. I think you'll enjoy this. So I went there with my dad, Mr. Arena, Frank Arena, and Chucky Murray, Mr. Murray. So they were, throwing out the T-shirts and stuff like that. We're sitting around. Mr. Murray's having a good time. A T-shirt comes into our vicinity, and a guy, another gentleman who's like in his 50s, sitting in front of us, maybe in his 60s, I don't know, sitting in front of us, goes to grab it, and Mr. Murray mossed him. He just went over him and just ripped it out of his hand. The guy afterwards looked back at him like he saw a ghost, like he couldn't believe it happened. And he was doing this with his shoulder. He might have tweaked something a little bit. Mr. Murray was losing it. The guy who was sitting next to the guy who didn't get it turned around and was like, "You just mossed him. You mossed him for the T-shirt." It was hilarious, really funny. As well as another thing I noticed in the game, this has nothing to do with the Mets, but I have to say it, Hunter Harvey throws 100 miles an hour. That's a thing. I didn't know
think
that.
He always has, but it's a live arm. He doesn't know where it's going.
Super live arm. He looked disgusting. And the third and final thing, which I think truly is probably the highlight of this entire series, was producer John being the ball boy in the game 1 of the doubleheader. We're going to bring in John here. And John.
John's blushing.
Look at him. John, you got your moment. How did it feel?
What's up, guys? How did it feel? It was crazy. It was awesome. It was out of the blue, and it was fascinating to be on the field and really like see these guys perform their craft. It's just such an art form, and it's crazy. Like I watch most of the games from the control room, so I have that vantage point, and fans sit all over the place. I used to sit all over the place. It's just not the same when you're down on that same playing surface as them. Like Mark Hanna made a sliding catch yesterday in the middle innings of the game. And, it was a wet track, so that kind of helped keep him moving like a slip and slide. But it was just so impressive the way he tracked the ball off the bat. The power with which he ran. It's just crazy. They're incredible athletes. Seeing the Francisco Lindor leaping catch on that line drive early in the game, that was insane to see from my vantage point. So
John, when you said to appreciate their craft, I thought you were talking about the ball boys' craft at first.
I thought it was too. I 100% did.
And then you started talking. I was like, oh, the guys on the field. Yeah, that makes way more sense.
Well, okay. So, yeah, that's a good transition to the next thing I want to say about the experience. Yeah, it's a more challenging task than people realize because there is so much pressure. There is a world of pressure to please everybody down there. And so when the game first started yesterday, the weather wasn't great. It was 4:10, single admission, so people can come whenever they want. You want to stay for 16 innings, 14 innings, all 18. It's your choice, same price. So obviously it's a later arriving crowd. early on, there's like 10 people down by where I'm stationed. And I was able to give all of them a ball. No problem. They got there early. That's what you get. Then it starts getting more crowded. And then some schools let out. And then all of a sudden, there's like what feels like 200 kids packed in. And it's everyone's birthday. It's everyone's birthday. Or like everyone's from a foreign country. And you just like can't make everyone happy because there aren't that many balls coming your way to hand to fans. And every time there is one, you know that you're letting down like 99% of them. Only one of them is actually satisfied by your work, and everyone else hates you and is not afraid to let you know. So that was a challenge, and I had a hard time coping with that for a few innings there. But eventually I realized, comes with the territory.
Yeah, I mean, we got a video from Will, the social media, going down there, and you're telling everyone, like, there's going to be plenty of balls for everybody. Very, very, very professional, John. It seemed like a natural.
Yeah, well, so shout out Ildemaro Vargas, who was actually at Citi Field opening day playing for the Diamondbacks.
Oh.
And he was the Nationals third baseman yesterday. And what was cool is every time a Met got a hit, the Nationals would kind of go around the horn loosely. It would always end up with Ildemaro. And then they would put the ball out of play. You know, someone would throw their arms up. Ball would be put out of play. Corey Abbott was the starter, so he was the one putting the ball out of play a lot early on. And Ildemaro Vargas would turn to me, and he would throw the ball my way. So two things on that front. Number one, Ildemaro Vargas, good hitter. He was short hopping me left and right. He's making me look bad. You know?
Well.
It's making me look bad. Challenging hops. Some I don't know if they're going to come up in betweeners. It wasn't helpful. But number two, he was actually providing a lot of the balls, which was cool because there were really only like 3 or 4 actually hit to me. One of which you guys will show in a few moments. But yeah, so he was actually hooking it up with a lot of fans, which was cool that he was doing that.
Okay, Ildemaro, not only a legendary name, a legendary player. I will give him that.
A legendary person.
Yeah, legendary person. That's better. I think I can't speak to his actual play too much. All right, so James, I've seen part of this clip. We want to start with the good or the bad?
I assume they were all bad.
No, there's some good. John made a nice play. John, you know what? Let's start off with the good. Let's give John the nice play before we have a really fun time here. So we're
Johnny Leather.
Yeah, this is also going to play for you guys. I suggest legitimately going to the YouTube channel and watching this so you can actually see the video. You'll be able to hear the audio as well.
Very bad radio.
Here we go. So let's start off.
Foul to the left. Thomas getting a lot of good cuts here.
Ooh,
nice play.
Yeah, 2 hands on it too. Showed the ball
off.
off.
A play by John Barron.
John's going to get a lot of kidding about
Double
that.
flap.
You can't just let him get away with good play. Just be nice.
Smile ear to ear.
That's the biggest smile I've ever seen you have.
Find a way to tease him somehow.
So John, and then he's looking. He's ready. Listen. John wasn't sleeping. He was ready to go. He was making plays. That was a good hop, John. Nice clean play. Good form. 2 hands as well. Got to appreciate that. And a shout out from Wayne and Howie, friends of the pod. Good friends.
Definitely. Yeah, no, that was by far the easiest play. Shout out Jim Wolf. He gave me some credit after that. So that was cool, him getting involved in the whole thing. But all right, Mark, you got the bad
okay.
one.
Yeah. So this one's incredible. This is awesome. All right, here we go.
That's what you ask.
Let's add it to the stream.
Swings, pulls one foul, wide of third. It's grabbed by Gary DiSarcina, the Nationals' third base coach and former Mets third base coach.
Keep an eye on John.
0-2.
Oh, wait. Oh, run past
the ball
it.
down the line toward the ball dude who missed the throw. And it was rolling at the time. Not a good play down there.
So yeah, you guys know what happened.
Go on YouTube and watch that.
It rolled. Right. That was Johnny Buckner. Oh my God, another
rolling at the time.
list.
All right, first of all, that's brutal.
Stiff hips, John. Really stiff hips.
Good hustle though. Great hustle. And fantastic hustle. Haven't seen that from ball boys all year, I gotta say.
Yeah, well, when that ball
dudes especially.
Yeah, well, when that ball gets by me, the only thing I'm thinking is like, oh my God, is Carlos Carrasco trying to throw a pitch and I'm holding up the game? So my thought was like, run past the ball, beat it to a spot, and then like block it with your body and just usher it out of play so they can keep the game going. And I nearly stepped on the ball and fell on it, which would have been
John.
just
If only.
If only. No, not if only. Those are my 3 thoughts when I found out I was doing it. Was like, don't get involved in the game. Don't screw the game up at all. Which then lends itself to do not pick up a fair ball. Please, for the love of God, do not pick up a fair ball. And don't have an embarrassing moment that's going to wind up anywhere. And I didn't even know the Nationals broadcast picked up on that until today. Like everyone had a good time in Park yesterday during the game. Caesar's Better's box was how many misplays I would commit. Like that was all fun. And then the Nationals actually picked this up. So I'm really praying that this doesn't actually go anywhere else, because I'm not. That's rough.
I think we got to give you credit.
We got
to give you credit, though. You were handling it like a champ. Many of people would not be taking it in stride, John, and you're handling it very well.
And best part, luckily for you, I don't think anyone watches Nationals broadcast.
I don't know. I guess at this time of the year, maybe they're getting ready for Capital season in DC. But who would be?
The Wizards, Bradley Beal.
Are they supposed to be good this year? The Wiz?
I think Kristaps Porzingis might still be on that team.
That sounds about right. But
this. Hopefully, because now we've had conversations about the ball boy thing, and it looks like this is maybe a more fluid job than we once knew. I think next year, and this is a perfect segue into the Esti-Met, I think next year you got to get me and James left field, right field for an Esti-Met in 2023.
That would be awesome. Like if we could set up some in-game communications between you guys.
We switch on every inning, go different sides of the field.
That would be really cool. Yeah, no, we'll definitely try to plan that out. I think I pitched this earlier this season. I think it would be awesome, not just for the Mets, but any baseball teams to have talented ball boys and ball girls where like, middle of an inning, like all of a sudden they just break out and do a little breakdance routine on the track there and no one saw it coming. Like that's top-notch in-stadium entertainment. So I don't know if you guys can break dance at all. Maybe you could take some classes during the offseason, get yourselves ready for this.
Just middle of the 3rd inning, do the worm behind first base.
I think the Astros have a security guy who does that.
Yes, they do. I was about to say that. And I don't know. I like the shock value factor. I think that really goes a long way. A good flash. What's it called? The flash dance or
flash mob, flash dance.
Flash mob. Yeah, flash dance. That doesn't sound right.
Internet trends of 2012 with John Barron.
There you go. Yeah, well, you guys should do some planking. But also, all right. Let's just get right into it.
Let's get to the Esti-Met because
this is amazing what happened. It's amazing.
It's crazy. The story of the Esti-Met, we talked about a roller coaster of a season for the Mets. That wasn't even necessarily true, but it has been a roller coaster of a season for the Esti-Met because James had an early lead. It was squandered. He was down. 2 with 2 to go.
Back up against the wall.
And by an absolute botch job by me.
Almost 2 botch jobs. I kind of just walked into it.
Yeah.
But you thought that John's question was only about the Mets. The Mets themselves did put up 19 runs in this series.
That's why I'm really okay. I did not deserve to win this one either way, whether it was a misunderstanding or not. James has now tied it up, which means the tiebreaker.
Yeah. So full exposure. When we first started playing this game, and James got off to his crazy big lead, I was like, oh, shucks, like this kind of stinks. This could have been fun. And like, it's over now. Like James has run away with this and this is not even entertaining anymore. And I wouldn't be surprised if some listeners were out there thinking like, this was a fix. This was rigged. They did this on purpose.
No, this was so not rigged.
This actually happened. Happened.
I was freaking out during the Marlins series in the booth, trying to make sure I got the right amount of pitching changes.
Yeah. Like this actually happened. I guess the one controversial moment is the Diaz brothers situation. Sure.
Kyle Schwarber had 1 plate appearance in the series. It washed.
True. So things even out. Things do even out.
Weather finds level.
Yeah. And, look, the fans voted and it's all about the fans. It's all about the listeners. So, who could argue with that?
For the people.
But, yeah, this was authentic. This was genuine. This was wild. They're going to make an ESPN classic documentary about this one day, quite possibly. Like, I cannot wrap my head around this. And then today, if a rainout happens.
Yeah, I was dead.
If any rainouts happen,
I knew they were always going to play 162. The fact that they made the Blue Jays play a doubleheader today means that they were not giving anybody 161. That also plays on a lot of the things that were discussed over the winter between the players and the owners and the way the TV deals have their dealings with these teams. But we were getting 162, and I knew once they stepped in the field today, I had it.
Yeah. When the
It hit
rain
the
delay
second
was
inning.
happening, I was like, it might work. It might work. Like, I'm already at the stadium, but it's okay. I'm all right to go home. It's 10 minutes. My dad's here. He'll drive me.
I was telling everyone about it too. I told everyone in my office that. Told a friend I was hanging out with today too. It was like,
oh, yeah,
people-
friend?
What?
No, never mind.
Shout out to Allie. She's gonna listen. But no, it's funny. Like everyone was locked into it. My dad's been asking me about it. My mom too. My sister. Like people love the Esti-Met. It was a great idea. Shout out to you, John.
That's all on producer John there. Johnny Stats. Johnny, what was Johnny Buckner?
No,
Johnny
we're not
Leather.
going to let that. No, one of our guys at Citi, Dylan. Shout out Dylan. You guys have seen him all over the place. He was calling me Johnny Five Hole.
Oh,
And
that one has to hurt as a hockey fan.
You Johnny Balls.
yeah, I'm trying to nip that one in the bud. I just don't want that one to gain any traction, any steam.
It's really
But,
any two-syllable word or phrase. Johnny Five Hole works.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Johnny Scampers.
Johnny Scampers. I don't like that one. That one's a reach.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, no, you guys made it fun. And look, you guys did a great job. I mean, there were some weeks or episodes where you nailed it. Like you guys were Vegas setting a great line.
We were racing for a lot of these.
Yeah.
The
And
attendance in Miami, we were on that.
It was
so close.
So cash money. Like that's, let me tell you, if they ever need our help, they know where to find us.
They did. They found it happened.
Yeah. No, you guys definitely have a good track record. And, obviously moving forward, we'll think of more fun, bigger and better things to do, more punishments for you guys. I love screwing with you guys. Actually, there was one anonymous listener who approached me, no joke, on Sunday. I'm not going to tell you who, and said, "Hey, John." And I was like, "Hey." And they were like, "You got to get James to shave his beard."
That's not true.
And
I know who it is.
I swear that actually happened. So
how do you know who it was?
Oh, I know who it was. I was standing right next to him.
Yeah. I promise you, I'm not going to reveal. I'm not. And Mark, please also just don't even entertain these questions. It's not a game of guess who.
No.
We're not telling you, but this actually happened. So that's the goal moving forward, is to put you in a spot like tomorrow when we're recording something that you guys will talk about in a sec. Hey, if X, then Y, and then we'll see what James says. But
so wait, just to clarify, and I guess wrap up the Esti-Met here real quick. What exactly is our plan for deciding the tiebreaker? Because I think we said a push-up contest, right? Is it just going to be push-ups? What's going on?
So we did say push-up contest, and I was thinking to myself, like, well, it'd be more fun than that. Is just a full-blown like triathlon or decathlon or something around Citi Field when the season's over, and we can, maybe use some of the cool real estate there. So I'm thinking we go with that, and we have some time to plan because luckily we have playoff baseball ahead of us, which is awesome.
Yep.
So we're all going to shift our attention to that. And then after, when the dust settles and, we've all had time to decompress and think, it's showtime for you guys. So I guess this can be a time for enjoying Met playoff baseball and getting some training in for a massive event in a couple weeks from now.
Mark told me a month ago he went to the gym twice. That's kind of big.
I went to it twice. I have not been since that day I told you. I don't think. It's just,
I'm not even kidding. I've stopped doing my regular push-up routine for the last couple of days because I didn't want to be sore. It's just in case you did this on Thursday.
Nice,
so I'll get back in the gym now.
That gives me time to work on my form. It's all form push-ups. We know that.
Your pecs and your lats.
Yeah,
of course.
Big workout guy over here. Man. All right. Well, at least I don't have to sweat out anything during the postseason because we can just, like you said, just enjoy postseason baseball. John, thank you for the Esti-Met. We appreciate you. We're going to wrap this one up here and put a nice bow on the end of the regular season. Anything else we want to talk about here?
Quickly, I think it's a good thing to do at the end of the regular season for us to realize how many amazing things that have happened. If you just want to rattle off some of the best games or series that you recall from the year, I have a little list that I want to start with too, just to give Mets fans a reason to kind of look back on the last 5 months with a smile.
Yeah, since April 7th. Remember when we didn't have baseball and it started late? April 7th. I mean, there was a lot going on, and I feel like the first big game of the year, of course, that I particularly remember that sticks out the most has to be the game against the Phillies, the massive comeback in the ninth inning. That was unbelievable. That was incredible.
That was kind of the click moment when you're like, this team probably has something different than the ones we've seen in the past. You even mentioned opening day briefly. I think that it's understated now. We're so far past it, how far it went that Tyler McGill set the standard on opening day, with Jacob deGrom being injured, being out for an unspecified amount of time, and Max Scherzer also getting injured, having to be pushed back at the end of spring training. Him showing up on opening day, of course, it was against a lowly Nationals team that was perceived to be a little bit better back in April. They also had Juan Soto
And Josh Bell.
I think that him walking out there and like looking like a stud really showed everybody else that like this team kind of had some metal.
Yeah, that was the Mets are like that. Oh, okay.
Yes.
God, they got it like that. All right, I see. Yeah, I
For
mean,
sure.
it really was. It really was a great season. 101 wins, second most in Mets franchise history, the most we've ever seen in our lifetimes. And there were so many great ones, and I do think that Philly one started off. What was another big one for you?
Dude, before the Philly one, the Cardinal one came back 4 runs down the ninth inning at the Arenado error. That was a massive, massive game.
Wow,
right
that
after.
That was in April. Oh my God.
Right before we even fought them.
That was crazy. Oh my goodness.
That was before the Phillies.
Was the home opener? Remember Robinson Cano hit a home run at the home opener?
And Lindor. Oh my God. Shout out to Coens. We were hanging out with them. That was a magical day.
Yeah, that was awesome.
The Eduardo Escobar cycle against San Diego and a very late night, the midnight Mets.
That was a great one. That was awesome.
Patrick Mazzika against the Mariners. Oh my God.
Andres Munoz. Yeah, it's the namesake of my firstborn son.
After I was talking about Andres Munoz at length on the podcast before the preview, and he gives up a home run to Patrick Mazzika. Andres Munoz has been like far and away the second best reliever in baseball this year.
He had that point before it untouchable, after it untouchable.
Yes,
Patrick Mazzika just existed in the middle.
Let's see some other funny ones I have here. That Dodgers game, the Sunday in Los Angeles, after the Mets lost the first two to Tony Gonsolin and Tyler Anderson, couldn't get a hit, won a grinded out game on Saturday, and then came out with a huge win that Sunday, and Donis Medina save in LA against the Dodgers. Yep. That was a massive moment. It was like, all right, the Mets are on top of this.
Dude, that Saturday game too against the Dodgers, where they were down 4-1 in the second inning, and then they just put up 4 in the third and just immediately responded. It was great.
Francisco Lindor just getting very hot to open the season. He had the walk-off hit in that first series against the Giants. He had 2 home runs in the home opener, just setting the tone for him to have an MVP caliber type season. Also, I remember before that Dodger series, before that big West Coast trip that we all circled, the Mets had a series against the Nationals where they outscored them 28-5 in 3 games.
That was a big one. That was
a huge one. Just like, you're like, all right, you feel some juice now. Guys are doing it.
How about Keith Hernandez Day, where Brandon Nimmo hits the ball back to Tanner Scott, who completely had a freak out and couldn't throw it away. And that's when people were getting a little too curmudgeon-y way too early in the season, of like whining. We had the people in front of us, remember, like they left and everything went better.
They sucked. Those old people. The Old Timers Day was incredible as well.
Yep.
Winning that game, being part of those festivities. Jacob deGrom's first start in Citi Field in more than a year
was electric.
Simple man against the Braves. He had like 12 strikeouts.
The series in Chicago against the Cubs. I know Cubs are a little bit of a sore subject, but Eduardo Escobar making that play to JD Davis at first with the scoop. I mean, they had 2 extra inning wins in that series against the Cubs. A lot of great baseball played out there. They handed 2 losses to Michael Givens, who is now on the team in that series.
The Nick Plummer game. Remember the Nick Plummer game that killed Joe Girardi? Got the Phillies to the playoffs.
Literally, Joe Girardi. The Phillies owner should give Nick Plummer some sort of present because
an award.
They fired Joe Girardi after that, and that ended up being the best decision they made. By the way, Michael Givens has 3 losses on the season. 2 of them came against the Mets.
That's awesome. He came back today. I think he might really be on this roster.
Definitely. I mean, like as long as he's feeling up this. Yeah, we'll talk tomorrow.
A couple more here. DeGrom versus Nola, that Saturday night game. It was 1-0 or 2-1. Just that classic freaking old school pitchers duel where no one could get an edge. It's just 2 of the best pitchers nationally going at it. Nola, I feel like, kind of should be getting more shine for the Cy Young, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, you're a Nola sympathizer. He's really good, but he shouldn't be getting the Cy Young shine.
I don't know.
There's 4 guys that are way better than him right now.
Maybe 3. I don't know. He's really close to Sandy in the innings, and he's been almost as effective. Because, I mean, he's got the Phillies issue where the FIP is great and the ERA is not. That was awesome. Plays in the bandbox, too, as opposed to Sandy Alcantara, who plays in the Polo Grounds.
Don't care.
I'm a Nola guy. I mean, I got to put the fandom aside sometimes. I see great pitching.
How about the game against the Phillies in Philadelphia on that Sunday where they came back late and they had the craziness? Nate Fisher, the legend.
Yes, Nate Fisher. When I scared the couple in Williamsburg cursing, listening to Howie in my ears. Yeah. It was a nice Sunday afternoon.
You have the series against the Dodgers, Edwin Diaz, Timmy Trumpets, all that stuff going on. The rally bun was born.
The Subway, that was a big that day, that Thursday 4:00 game. The Sunday, the Subway series at home. Starling Marte walk-off.
That was awesome.
That was an incredible moment that we got to spend. Oh man, there were so many good games this year. This was such a good year of Mets baseball, and we also went to We think we conservatively went to 40, 45 games.
Oh, I think we're going to be closer to 60. At least maybe myself. I think I don't know. You were at most.
You didn't
of the
really
games
go that many without me. I went to a bunch without you too.
Yeah, I bet you we were probably around the 60 mark.
50,
all things considered. Yeah, 55 to 65, I think. We were probably sprinkled in there, which is definitely the most games I've ever been to in my life.
I even remember like all the way back. It feels like a lifetime ago. That one of those first home series against the Giants where Rodon threw that gem.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. We were chilling with Pin Man.
Sitting in Carlos Rodon seats for the game.
You got steak with him the night before.
I had a steak dinner with him when the game got rained out. Nice guy.
Oh man, what a great season of baseball, man.
Great season. Matt, it's so funny too, because like, man, I appreciate the players playing this season out because going to 60 games was tiring. Yeah. Imagine playing in all the home games, tiring. And then you travel and then you come back. Like the baseball season is insane. It's got to be one of the craziest athletic feats, despite like baseball not necessarily being the most physical sport, you know? It's just nuts to play 162 games in 180 days or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's
great. All the traveling. I've gained so much more respect for everyone. It's like the players I always knew just were like freaks of nature, but like seeing them day in, day out was crazy. Seeing everyone who's a part of the stadium production, the people who work everywhere, give a lot of credit there. Here's another funny caveat from the season. We always talk about the schedule. The Mets stopped playing the Arizona Diamondbacks on April 24th this year. That's awesome. That team got so hot in the second half.
Did.
What a great little thing that we got to benefit from.
And they were so bad at the beginning of the year.
So bad. They were like 20 and 35.
I mean, we interviewed Max Scherzer this year. We interviewed so many different players, got to talk to so many different people. Pretty incredible experience working as the podcast host for the New York Mets. That's still something that's insane to say out loud. I mean, what a year. What a year.
Great year for us. And you know what? It might just be getting started. Because as we know, this weekend, we have the playoffs, the wild card series against the San Diego Padres. We'll be previewing that series tomorrow for you guys. So when you're listening to this, we will be recording, we will be prepping, we'll be talking, and that will be ready for you guys, hopefully late Thursday night, early Friday morning. Make sure you're following us on all our social media at Mets'd so you don't miss out when that drops, because as soon as it does, we'll tweet it out. We'll post it everywhere so you guys don't miss it. Big playoff preview coming at you. Remember to go subscribe to New York Mets YouTube channel. That's where you can find our video version of the podcast. And so you can see John's fantastic play as the ball boy down the left field line as well. Thank you, John, for that. Listen, if you're listening, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, wherever you get your podcasts, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. We do appreciate you. Follow James on Twitter at James_Shiano.
And follow me at GiraffeNeckMark with a C. Thank you guys for listening and watching. And we will catch you tomorrow. We know you're all listening for the playoff preview. Let's go. It's postseason time.
Let's go, Mets, baby. See you guys tomorrow.
Get up. Get up.